Hello and welcome to another What Sold video. This is everything that sold for me on eBay from January 12th to January 18th. And it's only eBay because that's the only platform I made sales on for that week. So I'm gonna scoot over here, and the first item is this J. Jill wool blend tailored vest with pockets. This was gifted to me from Melissa. So Melissa, thank you very much. This sold very quickly after I listed it. You can see it is something I've listed this month. So Melissa, thank you so much. Of course, it was very cute, and you know, wool blend, we're in the month for wool, and it's J. Jill, so it had lots of stuff going for it. Even size small stuff will move in J. Jill if it is the right style. Sold for $15.90 because I sent out an offer to watchers. This is a book. Sold it for $1.87. And the buyer paid for shipping. This is one of those instances where I've talked about on this channel that this year, not only am I trying to add to my book business, I would like for it to be 50% books, 50% other stuff. I tried last year to do free shipping and buy 3 get 1 free, and that worked somewhat because a lot of you guys did take advantage of that, but I'm trying to see if I do calculated shipping, if it makes people more interested in the buy 3 get 1 free, because books are a volume business. You could cherry pick, but the way I pick books, that is not necessarily going to work for me in my business, also not for me in my sourcing as well. But this is one of the instances where as soon as I changed it from like $6.87 to $1.87, plus the buyer has to pay $4.63 to shipping, instantly sold. So Tour of the Merrimack, this is not something I would recommend picking up unless you get it in like a big lot, which is how I got this. This is from that buyout I did, not the warehouse buyout, but a big buyout I did at the Restore. So I have 10 cents into this book. I have talked about how classic authors, I will pick up their books whenever I find them, either at the thrift store or at the bins or at warehouse sales, or when I get any good deal on books, because I put them in bundles of 3. That's like the magic number, and they sell. So this is Of Mice and Men, The Pearl and the Red Pony by John Steinbeck. John Steinbeck, one of my favorite American authors. I sold this for $7.87, and of course the buyer paid for shipping. This is another instance where as soon as I changed it to not free shipping, but calculated the shipping and the books, it doesn't make any sense to me. I have 75 cents in these books, so I 10x'd my money basically from these. These are a collection of his short novels. I actually have an omnibus of all of his short novels in hardcover, which is why I haven't kept this. This is another item I recently listed. Again, I'm trying to demolish this death pile. These I got at FlipCon. I had hoped they would fit me, but they were half a size too small. I was able to put them on, but they were not comfortable because it's half a size too small. But I did buy them at FlipCon. They didn't fit me, so I had to sell them. I finally listed them because I'm trying to get rid of this death pile, and shoes, I hate listing shoes. Sold for $35.75, so this was a good buy, even a year and a half later, getting around to listing it. And it was a fast seller because it did sell, you know, within 2 weeks of me listing it, which is great. This is a very old listing. This is from the first estate sale that basically made me hungry for estate sales. Basically filled up the entire trunk of my Nissan. When I had the Nissan, I paid $100 for like someone's whole closet full of shirts. It was the Air Force retirees sale. So I have very little into the shirt, and it sold for $9.87, and the buyer paid for shipping. It took 4 or 5 years to sell, but I've made so much money off of that sale, I don't really care. I'm just happy it finally found a new home. Igel is a European, basically the European Columbia. This is an international sale. It went through the global shipping program. I use the global shipping program for all of my international sales. I just don't want to deal with it. And so I know that when eBay gets it and they send it off to the buyer, I will never see that item again, and I never have to deal with any of the problems. eBay has to do it. People in my last video said they heard that it was going away. It's not going away. It's being rebranded and expanded. So instead of it being the global shipping program, which is only available in the United States, they are expanding this program into other markets because eBay is a global platform. So they are like going to do it, I guess, in Australia and the UK and their other larger markets. So it's now going to be the eBay International Shipping Program, so EIS, but it's still the same service where the seller is going to ship it to eBay, one of their big places. They handle the international stuff. They handle shipping it to the customer. It's still the same program. It's just going to now not only be exclusive to the US whenever they make that switch. Regardless, sold this for $14. This is a bins pickup. I love it. I think it's beautiful. Beautiful graph sweater. It's open front sweater. It's just pretty. Another book that sold as soon as I switched it to paid shipping. I guess people just don't like maths. That's fine. I will do the maths for you. So as soon as I changed this, I got a very reasonable offer of $7 for this book. This is from that big book buyout, so I have 10 cents into the book. It is a brand new book. Happy for it to move on to a new home. This is also brand new. This is an eyelash infinity scarf. I picked this up at the bins. I pick up like new accessories like hats, scarves, gloves when I find them at the bins because they sell and they're easy sells, especially when it's winter time. Sold for $5.15. I have, maybe 25 cents into this scarf. I was so happy when I got an offer of $8 for this. This is a vintage German ceramic trivet. I picked this up at an estate sale, I believe. So it was like one of those throw it in the big pile of stuff, you give me a price and I take home all the stuff. So I probably have very little into this and it sold for $8. This is the best sale of the week. I talked about in my last video how this category is severely overlooked because most resellers feel about this category the way I feel about shoes. They don't want to store it. They don't want to deal with shipping it. They don't want to clean it. I love dishware. I especially love vintage dishes. If I had found this vintage Teminite pottery in green, I would have kept all of it. That would have been my new dishware. I'm not kidding. But it's the frosty fudge instead of the frosty pine. The frosty pine is the colorway for the green colorway. I went on and on about this particular set of pottery when I originally found it for Thriftmas. I sold 3 plates for $104.61, and the buyer paid almost $20 for shipping. So 3 plates, over $100. I do have some knowledge in vintage dishware, but again, it has to be something that I'm super interested in. Mid-century stuff is stuff that I really love, so that is why I know about this particular dish set, and I hope one day to at least find a Frosty Pine one-hander mug. I would love one of those. They're just so cool. Again, vintage dishware, I paid $1 a piece for these, for each piece. So the only thing I have left from this set of dishware is the bowl and plate, the little tiny plate that's underneath that bowl. I have 3 of each of those. That's all I have left. I've sold all the one-handers and saucers, and I've sold all the dinner plates now. So this was an amazing find. And again, this is why even when you go to a store, like the restores in my area know some things and they mark those things up that they know or they think that they know, but not all knowledge is shared. And this was overlooked. I got also all of those Longhorn plates at the same time, and I sold each one of those for $40. So they don't know what they don't know. This is another gift from Melissa that sold pretty much as soon as I listed it. So in less than 2 weeks. This is a turtle fur. Turtle fur is sold at, REI. The original retail price for this particular beanie was $40, which is why I marked it at $14.87. And the buyer had to pay $5 for shipping, so it's still half price because it's a used beanie. But this was still on the REI website, so that's why I knew it was a more recent model. And I also made sure to put beanie, merino wool blend, and a toque, because if you did not know, some people call it toque instead of a beanie. I put both of those in there. And yeah, this sold pretty much as soon as I listed it. I made sure not to keep it because I don't need another one. I wanted it, but I let it sell. But Melissa, thank you again. Another book from that restore buy that I did. So I had 10 cents into this book. Another one where as soon as I switched it to buyer paying for shipping, sold on an offer for $14 and the buyer paid for shipping. This is another new book. So again, for those of you that are new here, that book buy that I did, it was like the majority of it was vintage science fiction and fantasy book, which most of those I sold on Whatnot. And then, you know, like 20% of it was, like 100 books of it was all brand new trade paperback books. All of those went on eBay, and I have sold most of those at this point. It was a great find. I would love to do that again. Speaking of big book buys, this book I got at the Book Bundler Warehouse buy that I did last year in October. The Warhammer books, again, I will talk about them. If you find Warhammer books, pick them up. Some of them are exceptionally valuable. I know that Second and Charles, the secondhand bookstore that I like to go to and frequent at least once a week to try to fill holes to make sets in my own book business. And they not only, someone donated, or not donated, somebody sold them or exchanged all of their Warhammer books, which is insane to me. So my guess is either it was a bad breakup and somebody donated, they're no longer partners, collection, and or somebody died. Because I couldn't imagine somebody just giving Second and Charles all of those books, because there are several books that they have in the display case that are worth well over $100 that are Warhammer books. In addition to, like, they had a whole Warhammer shelf section that was hundreds of dollars worth of Warhammer books. Most of those have sold by now because they're very sought after and rare to find out in the wild. So I'm sure there are some very rabid nerds that are very excited to have gotten the books for cheaper than what they could find them online. Not cheap enough for me to pick them up to resell, but cheaper than you could find them online. But this is Wolf's Honor. I picked up at that big book buy along with a whole bunch of other Warhammer books. I got like a nice little one box of just Warhammer books. It was great. 87 cents, and it was free shipping because this was a recent listing. Great sale. Again, Warhammer books, pick them up. I still have one trilogy that I have listed for around $100. I've gotten so many lowball offers on those. I'm just going to hold out. This is a pair of vintage Deadstock pants. I picked these up at the bins an exceptionally long time ago. You can see I modeled them, trying to make them look super cool. I got my little Prada flats on, and I have a vintage from the same time period blouse on to try to like show the styling, thinking that I was going to be one of those resellers because I was starting to try out Poshmark for the first time. Didn't help sell these, or maybe it did, but it just took, 2.5 years to do, through almost 3 years actually to sell. But it did sell, and I got them at the bins, so I have less than $2 into these pants. Sold them for $15. Probably won't pick them up again. Unless it's like in one of those big estate sale buys where it's just like a big pile. Then probably I will. This is a more recent pickup. This is the Revised English Bible with the Apocrypha. I will pick up Bibles in good shape when I find them at the bins because they do sell for me. This sold for $5. Buyer paid for shipping. Another one of those books where as soon as I changed it to buyer paid shipping, it sold. Another record sold. This one sold for $17.87 with free shipping. This came from that big vinyl buy that I did at Goodwill, where I just, is the right place, right time, got into somebody's, I was able to score someone's entire 70s and 80s rock and metal collection. Again, another one where it's just the right place, right time, just like with that book buy I did at the Restore. I made so much money off of that. I paid like, I think $50 for all of the records and made hundreds of dollars and was able to buy myself a record player so I could test them and write that off as a business expense. Amazing. This is Triumph Allied Forces. I got to listen to this too, so that was cool. This is a thank you to a viewer. John, thank you so much. They bought they technically bought 5 books. Well, they technically bought 7 books, but in his very lovely note, which by the way I did read, and I'm not going to share it here because it's between you and me, that they had 2 of the Asimov books that they purchased, so for me just to keep those and to resell them in another bundle and to just send him the other 2. So what I did is I acquiesced, and then I sent him a refund for those 2 books because he didn't receive them. I'm going to resell them. So I sent him a refund for those 2 books that I did not send him, because why would he pay for books that he didn't receive and didn't want? And I only did that because he was a viewer. I would not break a bundle up for a random on eBay. But because he sent me such a loving message, and because I know he's a viewer, I'm more than happy to do that for him. This sold, he paid a total of $54.48 and then paid $10 for shipping. Again, I refunded him for the other 2 books. But this was, books are heavy if you didn't know. So it did cost quite a bit to ship these, but it's medium mail shipping. So not, but so much. All the books he purchased from me are all books that were originally on Whatnot. That didn't sell on Whatnot because, again, my Whatnot buyers get my science fiction and fantasy, most of my science fiction and fantasy finds before I put them on eBay. The only caveat to that is the American Graffiti. That one just went straight to eBay because it's a movie tie-in book that is just Americana culture. Has nothing to do with science fiction or fantasy. Although I guess some Europeans, I guess people outside of America think Americana is fantasy sometimes. I don't know. That's an existential question that doesn't need to be addressed right now. But yeah, so I have very little into these. And again, John, thank you. And that's actually the great way to end this video on a viewer sale. So again, John, thank you very much for the purchase. Melissa, thank you for, again, being my friend and all your lovely donations to my business. I know recently when I've been doing my demolishing my death pile videos, there are a lot of stuff that she has donated. That's only because I'm trying to pull it all out of my car from the last time we visited together. So I'm not trying to add it to my death pile. So that's why that's getting processed first. But I'm mixing death pile stuff in too. But that'll probably be the next video, actually, is me listing stuff. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Until then,